Greetings, friends. I'm AK.
And I'm Laura.
And we are
the Chainsaw Girls.
I am so excited for the movie we are going to talk about today.
I know, I am too. I'm thrilled.
Did we just get into it?
We should just get into it.
Okay. We are going to be talking about the 1987. Once again, we are in 1987.
We love 1987.
And I know we keep calling things a classic, but I don't care what anyone says. This is a classic.
I agree. It is.
The 1987 movie Dolls. There's so much to talk about before we even talk about the movie.
Yes, I agree.
So first and foremost, when was the first time that you saw it? Do you remember?
I can't say I remember exactly when I saw it, but I do remember being very young. I told you that I used to go to the video store with my dad, and we'd rent horror movies on Saturday nights. And I remember when I saw it, like immediately falling in love with it. And I rented it a lot. Just like I rented my favorite Puppet Master, I did rent Dolls all the time, but I can't tell you precisely when I saw it.
Okay, so we're kind of flipped from Blood Diner because you know exactly when you saw Blood Diner. I don't. But with Dolls, I remember exactly when I saw it because it traumatized me. Okay, so along with Chucky, this movie, I didn't know what it was at the time, but it became my biggest fear as a child.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, you're afraid of porcelain dolls.
Yes, I'm not afraid of them. Like, I'm not going to run away if I see one. I mean, unless it starts doing what they do in this movie, then yes. But I don't like them. I don't like them.
That's fair.
My aunt and uncle got me one as a kid. I was very upset about it. I was like, you guys clearly don't know me at all. It was like a porcelain ballerina.
I feel like that's such like an aunt and uncle thing to get. Like they don't really know what you like, and they're like, she'll love this scary doll.
Either that or like one of those random Bath and Body sets from like Walgreens.
Oh, but honestly, isn't it the best though when you get one of those? Because you're like, hey, you know what? I needed some new lotion.
It depends on the scent.
True.
Back in the day, Cucumber Melon had a chokehold on me.
Oh my God, you're just bringing back memories. You're right, Cucumber Melon.
Do you remember Sweet Pea? Was it called Sweet Pea? Was the other like very, very popular one?
Oh, that I can't recall, but I do remember Cucumber Melon being a hit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm like, what was I even talking about? Okay, so I saw the movie for the first time as a child because I accidentally walked in on my parents watching it in their bedroom. And I'm very grateful that's the only thing I ever walked in on my parents doing in their bedroom. But this was just as traumatizing as anything else I could have seen because I could not sleep after that. I was so...
Oh, you were really scared.
I walked in on the scariest scene in the whole movie, in my opinion. It might also be a bias, but we'll get to it. I'll tell you when we get to it. But it was of course I didn't walk in just like a random, they're walking through hallways scene. It was like, in my opinion, the peak of the movie.
Yeah.
And of course that's what I saw.
That's what you walked in on.
So I was terrified of dolls to the point where I had all my stuffed animals, any type of dolls I had in my room. I would sleep with them covering my bed. I gave them my entire bed and I would sleep on the edge of the bed, like the very edge of it about to fall off because I felt like if I was nice to them, they wouldn't come to life and kill me.
I can relate to that. I can relate to that actually. Yeah, I'm with you 100%. It reminds me actually of an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark during the first season. I can't recall the whole episode, but there's like a girl in it who's just a total, and she has like all these stuffies, and she makes the girl that's staying with her like put all the stuffies back on the bed exactly the way she wants. I don't know, that sticks out of my head. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do vaguely remember that episode.
She was she was so mean, but I actually understand why she wanted them to be a specific way because in her mind, at least for me, I would think the same thing as you. Like they better be, I want them to be in specific spots because I want them to be content so they don't come and kill me.
Exactly.
Yeah, I relate to that.
So biggest and first childhood fear was really dolls that come to life. Chucky and then the dolls from the movie Dolls.
Wow, I feel like I'm opposite. I still feel this way actually, that I would have befriended them. Like they probably would have killed everybody else. Hopefully not my family, but they would have been my friend.
Based on what happens in the movie, I think you're right. I think you would have been Judy for sure.
I honestly think so too. But I kind of picture myself more like Ralph, but
now yes.
Yeah, now, yeah, for sure. But no, Dolls, it's so interesting that Dolls had such an influence on you because it had one on me as well. And again, it's one of those movies that we bonded over.
Yep.
That we didn't really know that each other watched it. And we kind of were talking about the movies that we like. And I remember both of us brought up Dolls, like, but immediately we were like,
yeah, like you've seen Dolls?
Yeah.
You've seen Blood Diner?
Yeah, because they are, I guess, considered maybe like a B movie. I don't know if Dolls would be considered that. I mean, it had a $2 million budget in 1987. Would that...
$2 million was considered low budget, at least more recently. Back then, I don't really know what the translation would have been.
Yeah, I guess we could have calculated that, but we didn't.
But it did well.
It did. I think it did.
It made a profit.
It did it says it grossed $3.5 million. So it definitely made a profit. But I feel like it had so many practical effects. Like, they don't use CG. It's animatronic, stop motion. And I feel like that has to be somewhat expensive.
I think that's probably what the majority of the budget would have went to.
I agree.
I would imagine.
I think so too. Yeah, and it's so well done. I believe it's David Allen that was the head of the animatronics, and I could be wrong, but I know that he's done the Puppet Master movies and Demonic Toys, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the dolls in this movie are uniquely terrifying.
Yes. Can you imagine crafting? There are so many dolls in this movie. I mean, what else would you expect? The movie's called Dolls. You would hope that there are a lot of dolls.
And there are a lot of dolls.
And it feels like, I don't know if this part's true, but it feels like each one is individual.
I agree. Yeah.
And maybe like handcrafted and it's not like they mass produce a bunch of dolls for the background.
Yeah, no, you know what? I never thought about that, and that's so true. They all look different, uniquely different, except for Mr. Punch. We got 2 Mr. Punches, but
technically yes.
Technically yes, yeah. But yeah, they are. They all have their own unique looks, and I think that stands out and makes sense because of what the dolls actually are.
Yeah.
I think that's such a good point. I never thought of that.
I feel like we should probably tell the story then.
Yeah.
What Dolls is all about.
Yeah, let's get into it.
One thing that I noticed right off the bat from rewatching this is that the score is so good.
It is.
It has a very long opening credit scene, which is just the black screen and all these different doll heads.
Oh, and it's creepy.
So creepy.
Super creepy.
You're immediately getting creeped out.
Yeah.
And the music is great. The music is so creepy.
Yes, in the opening scene it is, but I love how the music kind of dictates where they're at in the movie a little bit, and like kind of matches the personality of who's on screen.
Yeah. I think also speaking to the animatronics and the puppets and the stop motion, I know that the film took an entire year to edit.
And that's insane. But it does make sense, but that's a long time to edit a film.
Yeah, I don't know what a typical time is, but that
does
feel long.
I know. I feel like that is so long. I have no idea. I've never edited a movie before.
It feels long.
It does.
And we know that it was complex for them. Yeah. So I would imagine they were stating that fact because it's so long. They're like, wow.
I would think so, yeah. Because if I remember correctly, they used lighting and some like tricks to. I think one of the facts was that that I looked up was they used permanent marker on the actual film roll to mask some of the puppet strings and the hands and things in one of the big scenes, the one that you were referring to earlier.
Oh yeah.
Which I think is so creative. Wild. That's crazy. And so
they're like physically writing on it to hide where the strings that I didn't even know that was possible.
I would never think of that. And I suppose you can't do that anymore because everything's digital and digitally recorded. But back in the day when they were using film.
Yeah.
It was so clever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love a good hack.
Right? I know. I'm like, interesting. Love that.
Nice. But yeah, so the movie starts off, we meet the family. We meet Rosemary. We meet David, who are, Judy's parents. Rosemary's the stepmom. That's established pretty early on.
Yes.
They're in a car. They're driving through seemingly the middle of nowhere. We don't know exactly where.
We don't know. It was filmed in Italy, right? But I don't know if that's supposed to be where it's taking place because she is driving on the other side of the...
Yeah, she's on the right side of the car.
Right, which...
I had to think... I'm like, wait, what side
I'm like, hold on. Left, right. I don't know. So I don't know exactly where it is. But
yeah, we talked about this a lot when we were rewatching because we're like, are they in England? Some of the characters have accents. It sounds like maybe they're in the UK. But we know that it was filmed in Italy. So anyway, we don't know where they are, but we know that Rosemary wanted to go to Monte Carlo.
Right.
She wanted to go to Monte Carlo for vacation. She is dressed in a fur. And I meant to look this up, but I forgot.
The scarf.
the headpiece.
Yeah, the scarf.
It's like a scarf on her head, but it's like hanging off in a way that reminds me of like a nightcap in an old timey, like
Ebenezer Scrooge.
Ebenezer Scrooge. It has like a candle and like the long hat. I don't know what it is. I would love to know because I meant to look it up and I forgot.
Do you think maybe it was trendy in Europe to wear like a headscarf kind of like that maybe?
Because it's not just a scarf. It's hanging in a way that tells me that is a statement piece. And she's clearly supposed to look rich and very snooty. So I feel like, yeah, maybe it was like a...
Yeah, she does look very pretentious.
Yes.
She's a raging bitch, by the way.
Right away.
Like the worst human being ever.
If this was a wrestling match, they have established themselves as the heels immediately. Great job.
Right off the bat. As soon as they come through the curtain, man, they are like, you're introduced to them and you're like, wow, these are some piece of shit parents.
Yes. And it's established right away that Rosemary is the stepmom, David is the father, Judy is the daughter.
If you can call him that.
If even, which we are going to get into.
The worst.
But Judy... She's 7 years old, which she does say at some point. She's so cute.
She's so cute. The picture you showed me last night, you look just like her when you were little.
I was like, can I just tell you that I look like Judy? Not to say that right after I said she's so cute. And also I looked like her.
But you were super cute.
But,
I mean, you're still cute, but you were super cute when you were little. You had little pigtails and little bangs.
I had the Judy haircut.
You did.
And also, I mean, I was born in 1987. So
that lines up.
Even though I wasn't, Judy's a little older than I am. But anyway, so I had the bangs and the pigtails in my kindergarten picture. I'll post it. I'll post it when this episode airs because I really, maybe it's just the hair that looks like her. Either way.
No, she did look like her. She's so cute. Okay, well, Judy is like just the sweetest little angel. Yes. She's so sweet. And she's in the back seat and she's holding a little teddy bear.
Named Teddy.
Of course. Which is so cute.
It's okay. She's not that creative yet. She's only 7, okay?
She's only 7. Okay, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
Did you have like a favorite stuffy when you were a kid or like a toy that you'd walk around with?
First of all, I love that you call it a stuffy. We said it the long way. Stuffed animal.
A stuffed animal,
which is
stuffed toy.
Stuffy makes so much more sense. Why wouldn't you have a like cute little nickname? I don't think I did. I remember having a giant teddy bear, but it was too big to carry around with me everywhere. I think my sister maybe had like a favorite animal at one point, favorite blanket. I don't know that I did. Did you?
I had a dog in a sweatsuit and my dad's name was Ross and I called my stuffed toy Ross. My little stuffy dog.
Ross, yeah,
it was my little dog that I kept with me. And
Aww.
yeah, he was like in a little blue tracksuit. You know, he was like really into fitness or something.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Love
But that sticks out in my head.
Okay. Cute.
Yeah.
I wish I did. No.
I'm sure you did. You might just not remember.
I'm sure I did. It was fine. No, because I had to treat them all equally or they would kill me. So I couldn't pick a favorite.
I guess you weren't bringing any of them to show and tell.
No.
Yeah, you don't want to piss them off.
No, they stayed on the bed where they were comfy and happy. So clearly they show that there is resentment between Rosemary and David right away.
Yes.
Like I mentioned earlier, Rosemary wanted to go to Monte Carlo if it wasn't for the twerp, quote unquote, about Judy.
Like
she's in the car.
She is the absolute worst stepmother. She is worse than, is it Cinderella that has the evil stepmom?
Yeah, wicked stepmom.
She's worse than her. She is the epitome of like evil woman.
Yeah, horrible.
Right
away. And then a storm comes in out of nowhere.
Yes. Of course it does.
Out of nowhere.
Of course it does.
Yeah. And they get
the clouds are rolling in.
Literally.
Yes,
out
very
of nowhere.
dramatic.
And there is a scene where they get stuck in the mud.
Yep.
They cannot get out. So now they have to they're in the middle of nowhere, but they have to go to the nearby house, which happens to be a castle.
It is. It's like a big manor, like castle. Kind of looks like almost like a hotel, but not a hotel.
Yeah.
Like it's just a really big fortress.
But very creepy.
Super creepy.
And I guess where else are you going to go? I don't know. So they go to this castle. They start walking up to this castle. And there's a moment where Rosemary, for no reason, snatches Judy's teddy bear and tosses it into the woods. She's like, you got to grow up sometime or something like that.
Well, they're both really overly pissed off that Judy has an imagination.
Oh, yeah.
And
like, why?
It's so bizarre. Like, they're so mad at her for being a cute, happy, imaginative kid.
Yeah.
And I sort of wonder if Rosemary is envious of, you know, how full of life Judy is.
Oh, yeah. Especially because Judy quote unquote ruined her vacation. So she's very resentful toward her to begin with. So of course, if Judy's sitting there having a good time, you know when you're mad at someone and then they're sitting there like smiling,
Yeah, and you just immediately hate them more.
Oh, and you're happy about it, like.
But like she's a little kid.
But
It's
yes.
it's so incredibly messed up, and I feel for Judy so much. And she can't even turn to her dad because her dad is just obsessed with this Rosemary person and doesn't really give a about Judy. And I believe you pointed this out, that the reason that Judy's with them is maybe like she stays with him during the summer, or like he has...
I think he said something about having her in the summer.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm just imagining that. But it's implied that they have her for the summer, so she has to come along for this vacation.
Right.
And yeah, clearly neither of them are happy about it. I know we also talked about, we were like, imagine you're the mother, you're the shoot mother, the biological mother. And
I would beat the absolute out of this Rosemary woman. What? That is so horrible. And it's in the day and age where like you don't have cell phones. So this poor little Judy girl can't even contact her mother. And at times it's like, it must be so confusing for her to have two, caregivers that are treating her so terribly.
Yeah.
Like the amount of trauma this poor girl is going to grow up to have. And that's not even including the dolls.
Oh my gosh, not even yet. She's already. And we were talking about, we wonder if this was maybe even Judy's first time fully experiencing Rosemary. Because we're like, is she telling her mom that she's treating her this way?
Yes.
Maybe she hasn't gotten a chance to yet. We're really like deep diving.
I know, we really are.
The background, but we were with each other of like imagining what the background is of the home life situation, because imagine this mother has no idea that the other parents are treating her daughter this way.
Yeah, exactly.
Infuriating.
It's awful. It's just awful. Okay, so they get stuck in the mud and they're like, we have nowhere to go, so let's just go to this big spooky castle. And Rosemary takes the teddy bear, like the piece of that she is, and whips it into like a field.
Yes.
Now, please.
Oh, I was going to ask you. I feel like I've already been talking so much. I want you to break down this scene.
Okay, I was actually really excited that this was happening right off the hop because for some reason I just kind of forgot that it happened.
Yeah.
So on rewatch, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So basically, Teddy gets thrown into the grass or whatever.
Yeah, the forest.
The forest. And then emerges out as this ginormous stuffed teddy bear with like its arms and legs like kind of stuck out to the sides like a teddy bear would. And Judy's like, whoa, like what the f*** is going on? And then all of a sudden, like a vicious... rabid grizzly bear with, I think his eyes are like red. Mm-hmm. He emerges out of the stuffed toy.
He like busts through.
He busts through. It's like face hugger style, like Alien, just like comes out, and he's like super mean, and he like up Rosemary and
I think
David.
He slashes the dad too.
Like, yeah, just like takes him out. And little Judy is like, scared, but also probably deep down like, thank God, And so it's all exciting. I was like, yes, the bear got him. And then, they flash back to reality, and it was all Judy's imagination.
Yes.
So Judy really did imagine her Rosemary getting ripped apart by a giant rabid grizzly bear.
She has a great imagination.
She really does.
Maybe that's why Rosemary doesn't like it, because she knows what she's imagining. She knows
maybe. Like low key, she's like, I know what you're thinking. But it's like, well, then don't be a terrible person, and maybe she wouldn't want a giant grizzly bear to eat you.
Very true. I do remember this from childhood. Okay, so I forgot to mention also, after being traumatized as a kid, one of my friends in like 7th grade rented this during a sleepover. This and The Exorcist.
Oh, what a combo.
And I was not allowed to watch horror movies. So this was why it really had an effect on me.
So when you saw it with your friends, were you super scared then?
Yes.
Oh, you were?
During both movies, actually. I was like closing my eyes. Or, I would like kind of like kayfabe it a little bit.
Sure.
So whenever something's happening, I'm just kind of like looking down or like closing, like literally closing because it's dark so they can't see me. Like I don't want to see what happens. There were so many parts that I closed my eyes on.
I don't blame you, especially because you didn't watch horror movies growing up.
Yes. But one part that I do remember from that was before we realized that it's her imagination, Judy's reaction, before we realized, Judy just goes, "Oh, Teddy," which is so funny to me for some reason. And then the teddy bear goes, "Meh."
Yeah, like shrugs. Like, couldn't help myself.
He's not even a teddy anymore. He's like a realistic grizzly.
Yeah.
Also, I mentioned in Demonic Toys that this reminded me of dolls. Because there is also with I think his name is Grizzly.
I think I think he is. I think his name's Grizzly. I could be wrong, but I think it is.
Yeah.
Grizzly something. Maybe he's. I can't remember.
I know exactly. We say it when we're doing the episode, but I've since forgotten. But anyway, it's a very similar where that bear turns into a more realistic grizzly bear.
I mean, it makes sense because Dolls was under Empire Pictures, which when it folded, then Charles Band started Full Moon, and Demonic Toys is under Full Moon. So that makes sense that they're similar. I feel like our dolls walked so our puppets and Demonic Toys could run and fly and do whatever
and
sprint and stab and drill their heads into people and stuff.
Yeah, and it almost seems like similar to a wrestling match. When you have something that works and it works really, really well, you might repeat it later down the road because you're like, I'm gonna have this in my back pocket. Realistic grizzly bear bursting out of a teddy bear. Perfect. Let's use this again.
Dolls coming to life and killing people. Sure, let's go for it. I love it. I think it's great.
It's one of their like high spots, basically.
Yeah, no, totally, for sure. I like the analogy. That's good.
If you don't understand wrestling, you might be like, "What?" But the people who know,
they get it.
They'll get it.
They'll know.
So they're trying to get into this castle house thing. It's locked.
Like it would be, of course. It's someone's residence.
Yeah. Judy actually finds her way in through like a cellar. Okay, and
she's fearless, by the way.
Yes.
She is scared. I think she's more scared of the parents than she is the actual house.
I would also say that because her parents are not parents, really, that they don't really parent her, she just wanders off on her own all the time because she's used to being alone. Yeah. I would have been terrified to walk around that house by myself, but she's just like, all right, I got Teddy, bye. Like, you're not helping me anyway.
Right.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah, it does. Me too.
We're getting so deep with this.
I love it,
We've seen this movie so many times over the years.
It's special.
It is. It is very special to us. So she gets in through a cellar and the parents follow. And then here's where we meet the homeowners.
Oh, they're fantastic.
Gabriel and Hillary.
Yes.
Gabriel, we have to talk about right away. Okay.
Okay. Tell the listeners what you told me about Gabriel. Tell listeners what he is.
Okay. So first of all, we looked up how old he was in this movie because he has a great resume.
Yeah. Oh my God. He has so many credits. And in fact, he was Toulon and Puppet Master 3, 4, and 5. He's got a huge long, like, please, if you have a chance, go check out his credits because he's an incredible actor.
Yes.
Incredible.
And I think you have his I keep saying shoot name and people are probably like, what do you mean? His actual name like written down on the other page.
I do. Yes.
So Gabriel, we looked up. He was 76.
Sorry, Guy Rolfe, I think, is how you say his
name is Guy. Yes, I knew that because I was like, of
Yes.
course his name is Guy. Look at him.
I know.
He was 76 years old in 1987 or 86, whenever they filmed it.
Right. I
wrote down in my notes, Zaddy. Okay.
I mean, he is a good-looking man.
He is an attractive older man, and he is. I mean, 76, I think, qualifies as elderly. But
I would say he's senior. He's senior.
But he doesn't feel elderly. He just feels like a silver fox to me.
He does. And he's got so much confidence and this sort of elegance about himself.
Elegance. Yeah. That is the perfect word. He is from the UK. So maybe it's just that there's something aura about him.
Yeah. I was a fan as well. I was. Yeah.
Gabriel. Okay.
We love you, Gabriel.
Yes. I wrote down a quote from Judy here because Gabriel asked her, are you afraid of the dark? I think they're leaving the cellar at this point. Because they like meet them with a shotgun. They're going to kill these people, these intruders.
Right.
And then they realize, okay, they're just looking for shelter from the storm. They invite them in. And when he's shutting off the lights, he says, are you afraid of the dark or something along those lines? And Judy says, I'm not afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of what's in the dark.
Which is, Judy knows what's up.
I'm like, that is a smart girl right there.
She is so smart.
And she's only 7.
Well, she's seen a lot of and she's been neglected by her terrible father.
Very neglected.
And I also want to point out, Hillary, she's a little, I don't want to say strange, but she definitely comes across as a little more questionable than Gabriel.
Yes, like, Gabriel gives off vibes, just charisma.
He does. And a little bit of welcoming. Like
yes.
It's he kind of comes across as like, he might do something to you, but he probably won't. Whereas Hillary, it's like, there's a good chance Hillary is going to shove me in her oven.
She's creepy right off the bat.
Yeah.
Very wide eyes. I think that's what it is.
She does have wide eyes.
And just staring at you. And she's more mysterious than Gabriel.
Yes.
For sure.
Good point. Mm-hmm.
So then Gabriel introduces Judy to my worst nightmare as a child, which is a room full of porcelain dolls.
Oh, right. Yes.
And the music is cute here.
It is cute. It's like
"Aw."
curious.
And I'm like, no, this
Yeah.
would be horror music playing, like alarms sounding in my head. But Judy is a kid and loves dolls. Can't relate.
Yeah.
And I think you had written down that the director was...
Oh, Stuart Gordon. I can't believe we
Yes.
haven't touched on Stuart Gordon yet.
Go for
I
it.
was literally just thinking to myself, I'm like, we need to talk about Stuart Gordon. Stuart Gordon directed Reanimator, one of the most bomb-ass 80s movies ever. If you guys haven't seen Reanimator, I'm sure you have. But if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. He also directed The Pit and The Pendulum.
Which Rosemary from this movie is in Reanimator.
And Pit and the Pendulum.
And she's married to Stuart Gordon.
Yes, she
So
is.
that would be why.
Yes, she is. And
Not that she doesn't have credit as an actress.
no,
but-
she's fantastic.
Yes.
She's fantastic. But it is interesting that you pointed that out because the producer, Brian Usna, I want to say, and Stuart Gordon and the writer of this movie, Ed Naha, have worked together on several projects, including co-writing Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, I believe.
And I'm sorry, you are going to bring, if you're this type of person, which I know we both are, like, you're going to bring your friends into your projects.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially passion projects.
Yeah.
Like, yes, she's his wife, so yeah, he's going to use her. But, like, if that's someone that you trust
Right.
and you think is talented,
100%.
why not?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So, yeah, he's an absolute legend, and you can really... I really appreciate his direction in this movie. I think you can really just tell that it's got Stuart Gordon's name all over it.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure. And you had a story about him. You found a story about him getting trapped.
Right. He tells the story about being at, I want to say, like, the University of Wisconsin. And he went to, like, the Historical Society Museum. And there was a whole room of porcelain dolls on display. And he got locked in the room. I think they were closing or something. He gets locked in the room. And he admits that it actually did really creep him out and freak him out.
That he felt that they were watching him.
They felt like they were watching him, which tracks, because if you ever look at a porcelain doll, it really does look like its eyes are following you, right?
I was going to say he felt like that because they probably were watching him.
You see those, the eyeballs? Okay, well, let's not jump ahead. I was about to start talking about the eyeballs and the dolls.
Me too.
You were?
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
let's...
we can talk about it.
We can talk about it. Okay.
Yeah, because she's introduced to these dolls now.
She is,
also,
yeah.
the credits start out with creepy dolls, and they're so creepy because of the eyeballs.
The eyeballs are like human eyeballs.
They
I mean,
look-
they're bulging
Yes.
and they're big, but they've got like the little, veins and they're so accusatory. Like, they're looking at everyone with like these, like, I know what you did.
Yes.
You know?
And I know I mentioned it for one of them in particular. I think a lot of them have it. But when we were talking about it the other day, they have bottom lashes on some of them.
You pointed that out to me, and I never noticed it until you pointed it out.
And
to
not
me.
just lashes, but like the waterline. So they look even more... How your eyes just open right now? Because you also have like big doll eyes. I'm like,
Maybe I'm one of them. I just start morphing into it.
oh my gosh.
Anywho.
But we find out that Gabriel is a doll maker. So this is why there are so many dolls around his house, okay?
Makes sense.
Makes sense. We also find out in the next scenes that they are experiencing the longest night of the world.
The longest night of the world. Isn't there an actual day that's the longest day?
Or I guess longest night in the world, not of the world. I don't know why I said of. Either way, it makes sense, right?
But isn't there a day where it's the longest day of the year?
I think so, where, there's the most sunlight or something.
Okay,
So, sure.
Anywho, sure.
Yeah.
So it's like this, it's the longest night of the year. And I love that they do point that out because it really does feel like this night just goes on and on and on.
So it makes sense.
Yes.
They're setting you up for that.
They are, yeah.
And this is also where we're introduced to a doll because Judy lost Teddy. Gabriel is like, well, I have a doll for you. And he gives her Mr. Punch.
Mr. Punch. I love Mr. Punch. I know you're not a fan.
I love Mr. Punch's personality and what we're going to find out later. But I don't love Mr. Punch. He terrifies me.
I feel like that is like the same thing as saying like he's nice, he's not really my type, but he's got a great personality.
They're like, is he hot? And you're like, he's really sweet.
He's super nice.
It's not just because of how he looks. It's just the fact that he's a porcelain doll. But this is also something that I referenced in My Demon Lover, is that Mr. Punch.
Yeah, you did.
Looks like the demon when we first see a bigger transformation and he starts turning into like the big, fat, bald,
it kind of looks like a baby.
Nose, big chin.
Yeah.
That is what, there's a point. I'm gonna post the screenshot.
You should.
Because there's a part where like, it's so creepy in My Demon Lover. His eyes are like rolled back and he has that nose and that chin. I'm like, that is Mr. Punch.
Yeah, he does look like Mr. Punch. Mr. Punch, and I feel like we're not really describing him that well. He's a jester.
Oh, did we say that?
I don't think so. He's a jester. He's a jester. He has like a little jester cap and he's wearing like
the clown outfit.
A kind of a clown outfit. Yeah.
Big nose, big chin.
Yeah, and he's sweet.
Beady eyes.
I love Mr. Punch. I'm a fan.
Mr. Punch. Judy loves Mr. Punch. So you know what? For now, I will tolerate Mr. Punch.
We're on Team Punch.
Yes. Okay. Sure. So while they're doing all this, we are not even introduced because we see them right in the beginning of the movie, but this is where the hitchhiking girls burst through the door.
I have to interject about these.
Please describe
girls.
them.
So the one girl, I believe her name is Isabel.
Yes.
She looks like Madonna.
Straight out of a Madonna.
Yes.
80s Madonna.
80s
Because there are
Madonna.
many versions.
80s, like a virgin Madonna.
Yes.
Right? She's got like the jewelry and the, clothing or whatever. And her makeup's actually pretty cool. Her friend, what was her friend's name?
Enid.
Enid. I don't know that they mention her name.
I don't know that they say it either, but we did look it up.
So Enid, her makeup is very 80s, but like, okay, do you ever see the episode of The Simpsons?
Did you see my face? I'm like,
have you ever seen the episode of The Simpsons where Homer makes that shotgun that shoots makeup onto people? And he shoots it onto Marge, and she looks like she's got like super bright pink blush, like insanely pink blush, and then he looks at it and he's like, oh, it was set to whore or something like that. I don't know, maybe he didn't use that word, but it was like that was the point of it.
Yeah,
that is what Enid looked like.
Bright pink blush. Like when I see her blush, I don't even think blush, I think rouge. She has a rouge.
Yes.
And she also, like later we get a close up and we see she also has like pink eyeshadow, which I actually like that. I'm like,
I don't mind their eyeshadows.
The matching eyeshadow to your blush.
It's not terrible. I wouldn't be so judgmental if they weren't such awful people.
Yes.
So they come in with Ralph. And Ralph is, I don't know, we don't get a whole lot of backstory about Ralph. Like kind of, I don't know why he knows them. I think maybe he picked them up.
He did. He picked them up.
He did.
Yep.
Okay, so he picks them up and they're all over him. Like they are, like they want to get down with Ralph. At least they're giving him that impression.
They're definitely flirting with him.
Flirting, I feel like this is more than flirting. This is like they are groping him at the table.
Like teasing him, and also it feels like they're being about it. It feels like they're doing it almost like as a joke to each other. Like, let's flirt with this guy. Yeah,
it really does. And they're introduced into the kitchen, right? They're all kind of sitting at a kitchen table. And Hillary offers them to like stay.
Yeah.
She's like, there's room for you, sure, And I feel like deep down she's like, yes, stay, please. You guys are terrible.
She already knew they were bad people.
She knew right away.
She had to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And can we just talk about Ralph for a second? Because I know we don't get too much about him here, but I love Ralph so much.
Me too.
He is, like, I love Judy too.
I do too.
But Ralph, I don't know, Ralph might be my favorite character in the whole movie.
I have to agree with that.
Yeah, he's great.
He really is. We don't get to see that right away, but it's pretty quickly that you see that he's a good person.
Yeah. He's funny. He seems gentle. Like a gentle teddy bear.
He does.
He was almost like her replacement Teddy.
Oh my God. No, you're right.
He is a teddy bear of a man.
No, he is, for sure.
I love him.
Absolutely. Great actor, too.
Yeah.
Like, he really is fantastic.
Yes. So now they're walking through this mansion, castle, whatever, and they're all getting their own rooms. And the parents, David and Rosemary, are already like, the kid can't sleep with us. There's only one bed in here. You are in a stranger's house, and you don't want your child to sleep in the room with you. You would let her, like, go sleep somewhere else. Because Gabriel right away is like, oh, don't worry. She has her own room.
Yeah.
But you're going to let this strange man take your daughter
it doesn't
God
make,
knows where.
it really shows how much David doesn't give a shit about her. But I agree with you. And what's so funny about the whole scene and so fucked up about it, they go into the first room and he's telling them, like, yeah, this is going to be your room and I'm going to take her to another room. Like, a normal parent, number one, wouldn't be comfortable with that. But, like, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, they are fine with it. At least walk with her to the room. Don't just let her walk around with a bunch of strangers she just met.
Because she ends up walking through the hallways with Gabriel and Ralph.
Yes.
2 grown men.
That she doesn't know and the parents don't know.
None of them know.
They don't care. They're just terrible. You're just itching for these people to die.
Meanwhile, it's ironic because they're way better people than her parents are. And they're going to take way better care of her.
No,
but they don't
are.
know that.
No.
They're
They
just
don't know
letting
that.
her walk off with strangers.
Yeah.
So then we see the hitchhikers in their room. And Hillary comes in. I feel like the whole movie you're like, I hate Isabel.
I hate this scene.
Yes.
They're so disrespectful.
Hillary comes in, she's trying to check on them, and they're just being really rude to her.
Rude.
Like, kind of like, you know when 2 girls are just being mean girls and they're making fun of someone, but they're kind of trying to do it subtly enough, like to each other, but in front of the other person? I'm sure a lot of us have witnessed that happen in high school or even as grown-ass adults.
Or have had it happen to us.
Yes.
It's the worst feeling when you know that somebody is like gossiping about you in front of you and like being all and like laughing and giggling. That is so mean. And I feel like everyone's experienced that to some degree, right?
Even if you are just sitting there and 2 people are off giggling and you don't know them, it's like you immediately are like, are they just like talking about me?
Yeah, are they laughing at me? Which, okay, that's
an insecurity projection.
for sure. But the whole point is that it's an awful thing, and that is exactly what they're doing. They're not only that, they like immediately blast music. They start bouncing around on like the bed and they're dancing and they're knocking all the dolls off the ledge and they're just being so disrespectful. And I get it. They're like supposed to be these like teenagers and or however old they're supposed to be.
Yeah,
maybe
I'd say.
Maybe, I don't know. Ralph's
Really,
pretty old.
Young adults.
But it's so overt that, again, you're like, oh my God, please die.
With the parents, I would say David, Rosemary, and then with Isabel especially, I feel like they are sort of one-dimensional characters where they're just bad.
They're just terrible.
Very, very 80s where like there are no layers. This is a bad person. We want you to not like them.
Yeah.
So that you're like kind of rooting for them to
get it.
Kick the bucket. So I would say this scene also establishes that Isabel, if we're gonna, if it's a competition, she's worse than Enid.
Yeah.
Because Enid, she shows a little bit of empathy here. Isabel is like, we gotta go rob, we gotta go find these antiquities, is what she calls them, or antiques. She says both.
She does, and she also says something about stealing Ralph's wallet. That's the first thing she says, is like, we gotta go get Ralph so that we can steal all his. And then Hillary comes in, and Hillary says something about everything in the house being antique.
Yes.
Antiques.
And they're like, well, really, it's Isabel.
It's Isabel. She's like, that is like music to her ears. She is like, oh my God, we need to go run and ransack this house.
Yeah.
They're not going to know. They're old. They're not, they're
going to die soon.
They're going to die soon is her rationale. It's so terrible. And Enid is like, I really don't want to. This doesn't feel good. I really don't want to do this. And Isabel's kind of pressuring her. And then finally Isabel's like, well, I'll go do it. You just stay here.
Yep.
And I mean, guilty by association, but also like, have a backbone, Enid. Say, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
But she can't be that good of a person if she's just going along with it. I don't know.
And also, the whole setup where they walked in with Ralph and we're kind of treating him like and making fun of Hillary. Like, she doesn't seem like she's that great of a person, even if she is having a moment. She's having a layer here where she has a little bit of a conscience, but still, she did let her go. Isabel's clearly running the show.
I agree.
So we end up finding Isabel in a different room where she's checking out everything. She's like looking at these antique. I like that she said antiques, and she said antiques because of course she would. And these antique like hairbrushes, like jewelry box, random thing. And we see a jewelry box, or we hear a jewelry box start playing.
Yes.
This was an interesting moment when we rewatched it because I remember saying to you, I hate jewelry boxes. And you were like, me too.
Yeah, I literally wrote a note that said, gosh, I hate jewelry boxes. And then like 2 seconds later, you were like, those kind of jewelry boxes used to like really scare me.
Yes.
I hate them. And me too. They always freaked me out.
It's not the jewelry box. It's the musical jewelry box. Or
With
any
the
type
with the
of,
little ballerina.
and the wind up.
Even when I was a kid, those weirded me out.
Yeah, and I wonder for me if it was because of this movie.
I would say probably. Yes.
Very possibly. And
Maybe me too. And like subconsciously, I didn't realize. I don't know.
And was it a ballerina inside? Do you remember?
It's something like that. She's like a little dancing.
Seems like it would be.
It would
a ballerina.
be. I think so. Yeah.
And maybe that's why the porcelain ballerina that my aunt and uncle got me scared me even more.
It like grew. You're like,
Thank
it
goodness.
came out of the jewelry box.
Thank goodness she didn't play music too,
Oh,
because I would have had to bust her. But then I was scared too because of what happens later with the dolls when they get busted. But anyway, we'll get there. So we hear the music playing. Mm-hmm. Isabel looks up, and no, she actually shuts it. Okay, she shuts it. There's like a couple dolls on the mantle. She shuts it. She goes back to ransacking this place. The music plays again. She's like, what the hell? The dolls have shifted a little bit.
And you've seen their eyes move at this point, no?
I think not yet. I think first, I mean, I don't know. It does it a couple times.
Yes.
So
like you're getting the impression that the dolls are watching her.
but by like the third, I mean, obviously something's opening this music box.
Yeah.
So by like the third time, maybe you see not just the eyes move. I think you see the doll's face smile.
Yeah, it's like a twisted smile.
Ugh, and it's not. It's a what would that be? It's a puppet. Or it's animatronic.
Probably
maybe,
animatronic.
for that one.
Yeah.
So it's not like a cut or like CGI. You see this mouth just.
It's creepy.
It's so creepy.
It's super creepy.
So creepy. And she doesn't notice.
No.
She shuts the
Of
jewelry
course
box.
not. She's so full of herself and just wants to steal.
I love this part. The music plays again. They show the mantle. There's a bunch of dolls on the mantle now.
Oh, it's so creepy.
She still doesn't seem that alarmed. She's just like, oh, that's weird. Then finally, the last time the music plays, no dolls are on the mantle. I love this scene.
It's a great scene.
It's drawn out, I feel like, the perfect time. It's not too short. It's not too long. It's creepy. You know what's about to happen, but you don't really know what's about to happen.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about what the dolls do next?
I mean, they sort of like, I think she trips or they trip her or something. But the visual, she kind of like pancakes.
Yeah.
And all these dolls come to life, obviously. And they grab her arms and legs. So she's like Wile E. Coyote style, like legs kind of out, arms to the side.
Like face down.
Like face down, yeah. And they hold her up and they just start running her into the wall like you would a piece of like a big tree trunk if you're trying to get into like a house,
like a batting ram.
like a batting ram. Like a batting ram. They just run her into the wall over and over and over again. And I don't think she necessarily like, does she die right here? Or is she knocked unconscious?
She's
like,
not dead.
She's not dead. She's like knocked out
But
or something.
she's
oh, her face is like, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
And then Judy sees her. Judy and Mr. Punch find her.
They do.
You see how messed up her face is. And she kind of reaches out to Judy. And Judy's like, and then she gets dragged away.
Yeah.
Literally, they dragged her ass.
They did. They pulled her away. It was like, and she's like, her arms are stretched and she's like, no, you know,
Yeah.
and that's right. And the dolls pull her away. And Judy, being the sweet, what did you call your cat? A sweet baby angel?
Sweet baby angel.
That is Judy. She's like, I need to tell someone that this is happening. And doesn't she go to her, she goes to her parents first.
She thinks they're elves at this point, too.
She does. She calls them elves and little people.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, she knows that they're alive, but she doesn't know that they're dolls, I guess. But yeah, she goes to her parents first, who are now getting drunk in bed.
Of course they are. They don't know where she is and they don't care, so they're getting trash.
And then this is where David, the father, goes to like backhand her.
It is so awful. That whole scene is it's so heartbreaking.
And of all people, Rosemary's the one to stop him. But of course, it's only because she has an ulterior motive.
Of course
she goes, you're going to be paying more child support. My money.
Way to make her the most evil person. Oh my God.
Biggest heel.
And Judy is just trying so hard to explain to them that what she's witnessed. and he goes off about her imagination again. And that's when he goes to backhand her. Like, kids have imaginations. I wish I still had an imagination like I did when I was a kid. It was the best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And as you turn into an adult, you start forgetting how fun it is to just play pretend.
You get desensitized for sure.
Yeah.
Jaded.
It sucks. And so that whole scene was awful. So Judy takes off and she goes to Ralph.
Yes.
She goes to Ralph. And I thought the scene was so it felt layered. Like, you know, like she goes to him and she's telling him what's going on and he's kind of like, Judy, I don't know about that. And he's not mean.
Yes, in a much nicer way, he doesn't believe her.
Yeah.
I do love that they made Ralph, he's very childlike, of course.
Yeah.
And he's clearly very kind and gentle, but he is also a logical adult.
Yes.
So he's not just like, I believe everything you're telling me, child. He still uses...
critical thinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I don't know about these elves, Judy. Like, that sounds a little far-fetched.
Yes. And I loved this visual. Judy has these super cute, fluffy pink slippers on. And Ralph notices that there's, like, blood on the bottom of her, like, dress, her nightgown.
Her slippers.
Oh, it's her slippers.
Yeah.
That there's blood on them.
Yeah.
And he says, you know, where's that from? And she's kind of like, I don't know.
I think he even says, like, is that blood? Or something. And then he realizes it's blood.
He realizes it's blood. So he does, at this point, not believe exactly. Obviously, I don't think he believes in the elves, but he does believe that Judy saw something.
She saw something for sure.
For sure.
Something's going on.
Yeah, definitely.
So then they're, like, going through this house by candlelight, by the way. It's a creepy castle. They're going through these dark hallways.
Candlelight.
Yeah.
I loved that. And I do want to say, when they're walking around the house, like, the set is beautiful.
It really is. And it does feel like a mansion. Like, this house never ends.
Yeah. Like, almost like a maze. Mm-hmm. It feels like a maze. It's so beautiful. And it's so beautifully shot with the lightning and the music. And, yeah, I thought them exploring was pretty neat.
Yeah. So Ralph and Judy are going to go up to the attic. I think they both do go up to the attic at this point.
They do.
Oh, no. Does he make Judy stay down?
Well, he at first he's saying to her, like, no, I'm gonna go check it out, and she's like, no, you're not going alone, I'm gonna come with you. And he's a little hesitant, but, you know, he's like, oh, it's probably nothing, right? So he does let her come. And then when they get to the attic, again, he doesn't want her to come with him.
Yeah.
Which I think speaks to him being a responsible adult, but she's kind of persistent, right?
Yeah.
And he's kind of like, okay, yeah, come with me.
Yeah. Which also makes sense to me because, yes, you don't want her to come with you, but you also don't want to leave her alone downstairs.
Agreed.
That's so far away. So he's walking through the attic, and you see kind of in the background that there are, like, what look like medieval torture devices just kind of scattered around.
You pointed that out. I didn't even notice
They're not easy to see. So it's very dark. I love the lighting. It makes it so much more creepy in this movie. But you can kind of make out, there's, like, I don't know what it's called. I should have looked it up. But it's like the big iron with the spikes inside where they would close it on people.
Like a medieval torture device.
Yes.
Is what it is, right?
Yeah. And then I think...
Is that what you just called it?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that is what I just said. It's okay. It's okay. I thought you were going to say the actual name of it. I'm like, But yes, that is correct. And I think Ralph picks up one. It looks like the stocks where you put, like, your head and your hands in.
Oh,
that
yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah. Do they, like, is that like a guillotine where they, like, cut your head off?
No, it's where they just lock you that way. They would just keep people there locked up.
Oh.
And you could probably, like, throw tomatoes at them. Or, like... I shouldn't have said tomatoes. I don't even want to laugh because this really happened to people. I know it's not funny.
No, it's not funny, but why did you say tomatoes?
I was going to say or stone them.
Oh, God.
Then I said tomatoes, and I was like, I shouldn't have said tomatoes because that makes it funny.
Tomatoes makes me think of, like a bad play or something. Is that a thing where people would chuck tomato, which is horrible, by the way?
It is.
Imagine getting pelted by, like...
tomatoes are soft if they're ripe, and so they would, like, explode.
Yeah.
It makes me think of did you ever watch Hey Arnold?
I didn't.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if that one you got in Canada or not.
We did. I never watched
You're like,
it.
we did. I just didn't.
I didn't like it.
Never. Okay, we're not going to dive into... I'm not going to get offended by that and dive into it. But there was a popular clip from that show where it's one of the kids about to throw a tomato, and people would post it as, like, a meme if they were like, boo! Yeah.
That's cute.
Anyway.
Okay.
Okay, so where were we again? Oh yeah, medieval torture devices. And so I love this scene. This is what actually scared the shit out of me as a kid. And it's very similar. It's funny that we rented this and The Exorcist together because it has two of the similar element that scares me so bad even to this day. I love when they include this in movies where they don't draw attention to something up close. They don't zoom in on it. They don't spell it out for you. You have to be paying attention or you're not going to see it. And it happened in The Exorcist with the demon I will not name in this house.
Why?
Don't say it.
Why?
It just freaks me out. I don't know. You're not supposed to say it or something. You know, to summon it. I don't know.
Oh God, I've said it so many times. Like maybe
It's fine.
I've summoned him a few times.
But I don't know. It just freaks me out. It's
fair.
Catholic guilt. We've discussed, this so much.
Yeah.
So, where you see the demon's face flashing in the background of the cupboards when the mother's walking through the kitchen.
It's my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Not even just when the face flashes on the whole screen. It's the background where you have to be paying attention.
Love it.
And like you see it, you don't know if everyone else has seen it, and it's so scary. So this happens here in Dolls, similarly, where Ralph and Judy are kind of inspecting the foreground, and then in the background, lightning flashes, and you see something, especially because you can't really make out what it is at first.
Yeah.
And then when you really look at it, you realize it's Isabel, kind of tied to a chair, it looks like.
She is, yeah.
And she has, you don't know at first. It looks like maybe she has a mask on.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah.
It looks like a doll.
Which ties into Judy's quote earlier in the movie. I'm not afraid of the dark. I'm afraid what's in the dark. And I think that is just a perfect representation of that. It's like that thing when you're a little kid and you're about to go to sleep at night and you're like squinting in the dark and there's like a pile of clothing on like a chair.
Oh my God.
Right? I mean, and not even a kid. I still have that.
Still,
right? And then you're like, wait, is that a person or, you know, or monster or whatever? They really capture that well.
yeah. So creepy. They don't notice.
No.
And they're just like, it's fine. And then they just walk back downstairs. Actually, they don't because Ralph gets tripped down the stairs here.
Yeah, that's right. And he thinks that a rat scratched him.
He thinks he got bit or something by a rat.
If I thought I got bit by a rat, I mean, I would be, I'm such a hypochondriac. Immediately, I'd be like, I have the plague. Like, I would be freaking out.
I think considering the circumstances, the fact that he sees blood on this child's slippers, the rat is the least of his worries.
Okay, that's fair.
He's afraid there's a murderer on the loose.
I'd still be really, really nervous about the rat.
No, for sure. And Judy actually, I don't think she realized what happened either. She doesn't think it's a rat, but she said you tripped over some dolls.
Right. But we know he didn't trip. The dolls did something
You
to him.
can kind of see them rumbling before
And
he trips.
they make little sounds too.
like a little whispering.
Yeah, whispering.
Which I think you said it was Stuart. Was it Tom Savini or Stuart Gordon's family and friends that did those?
It was Stuart Gordon's like family and friends apparently,
Including
and his
Rosemary.
wife. Yes, that did the voices of the dolls, the little
Just,
whispers and
like,
stuff.
just in the background. Yeah.
By the way, I don't think I've ever told you this, but like the sound of mumbling, like it makes me so uncomfortable.
Mumbling or whispering or both.
Like a combination of both. Like that like mumbly whisper. It really, I can't stand it.
Like in this movie, like the creepy.
This one's cute, so it doesn't really bother me. Like the little like whispering's cute.
It's not cute.
But just people mumbling in general, like, oh God, it makes me so uncomfortable. Okay. I digress.
So, I mean, it makes sense. It creeps you out, and not being able to understand what's happening, that just annoys me in general. Like, if I can't understand something over and over, you don't want to keep asking, like, what?
No, that is
What'd
the
you
worst.
say?
Eventually, I'll just be like, yeah.
Okay.
Even though I will look you dead in the eyes and be like, uh-huh, even when I have absolutely no idea what you've said.
Yeah, I do that too. And sometimes I'll recognize, like, I'll probably recognize if you did it, or if Marty Bell did it.
Sure.
Or I would be like, you didn't hear me, did you? And you'd be like, nope.
Yeah, at least we can do that.
Yeah.
To a stranger, not so much.
No.
You're just like, oh, they tell you their name and you're just like,
Yeah.
I'm never going to remember this. I don't even know what you said.
Nope. I refuse to ask you what you said. I refuse to ask you to repeat yourself a third time.
Yeah.
I would rather just
I usually laugh.
hope for the best.
Yeah, like I hope this was funny because I'm about to laugh at it.
I'm going to mimic your reaction. Is this sad? Is this funny? Is this scary?
Gauging.
So now everyone's in the hallway. Ralph thinks he got bit by a rat, and the parents are looking for Judy. Everyone's accusing Ralph of being inappropriate now.
Oh, this made me so irrationally angry.
Yes, because we know that Ralph is innocent, and he's like the
Yeah.
best person in this house. They don't know that. I understand why they wouldn't want their daughter walking around with him, but they didn't care before. Now all of a sudden you want to be parents.
It's so, to me, it just like, it just shows how, like, David, the dad, how little he puts any thought into her. Like, he doesn't even consider what she's saying is true. He dismisses her at every corner. He dismisses her. And then he accuses Ralph, who has been nothing but, I mean, fair, he doesn't know him.
Yeah.
But he hasn't really given any indication that he's a terrible person, when David himself is a terrible person and actually went to hit her.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like to watch him all of a sudden become super dad. It's just like, David, stop it.
Yeah. At the same time, I'm like, yeah, you should have done this in the beginning and not let your daughter walk around with a strange man. Even though we love Ralph, you shouldn't have let him walk around with a strange man.
Yeah,
or her.
Exactly. And then to get upset and not only him, but Enid is like hysterically accusing Ralph of doing something. I think, doesn't David call him, you said he calls him a pervert, right?
He calls him like, yeah, I think Rosemary says, oh no, that was different. I think she accused Gabriel earlier of being a sex fiend.
That was her first thought when she saw Gabriel. She's like, oh, they're like sex fiends. Like, what? Why does your brain go there?
I knew that man was something. But yes, now the parents Rosemary and David are accusing Ralph of being creepy with Judy, and Enid is accusing Ralph of taking Isabel because she can't find her.
The way that she jumps to this conclusion, it angered me.
Yes. I will say Judy here did say they took her away. They took Isabel away or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that's where Enid's like, you took her away to Ralph.
I feel like it almost felt like mass hysteria. Like it was. It was, right? Like it almost felt like, and to be honest, I felt like David's reaction was less about Judy, being worried about Judy, and more annoyed that he doesn't have like the getaway that he wanted. He doesn't have, like, he's stuck with her. Like, I felt like that's where the anger was coming, and not that he actually gave a shit that, you know, something happened to her, could potentially have happened to her.
Right.
But Enid was like way over the top, to the point where I was like, can you just let him can you let him speak?
Right.
Let him at least tell you what happened, and then you can kind of judge.
Yeah. But she was like hysterical. Like,
she
I like
goes after.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Anyway.
So Judy is upset by all this hysteria, and she takes off. Mm-hmm. So she's running through the hallways. The dad goes to follow her. I keep saying the dad. I know his name is David, but I just feel like it'd be easier to know who I'm talking about if I just keep calling him the dad.
Yeah.
So he follows her, and she dropped Mr. Punch in the process.
Oh,
so
Mr. Punch.
David. Now, of course, I'm going to switch and call him David. Now that I've said that, whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
He can't even be considered a father.
They don't call him David a lot either. That's why I just keep calling him the dad. So he takes Mr. Punch, and he's trying to lure Judy out by threatening Mr. Punch. He's like, I'm going to tear this doll to shreds. And he tries to start ripping Mr. Punch in half. One thing I also love about this movie is the adults seem to be, they're never really fully aware that the dolls are the ones doing things. So like when Ralph tripped, he's like, oh, it must have been a rat. That's logical. That makes sense.
I agree.
Here, I think that Mr. Punch probably like bit him because he goes, and he drops Mr. Punch.
Yeah.
He's probably thinking, oh, I snagged my finger on something, which we don't know. It's not confirmed, but it's assumed the doll is attacking him.
I would say so. Yeah. Yeah.
Then he takes a candle instead, tries to burn Mr. Punch's face.
I hated this whole scene.
Yeah. It was, here I did feel bad for Mr. Punch. Here I was rooting for Mr. Punch, but also you have the bigger heel, which is David, who I really hate. So yeah, by default, Mr. Punch is the baby face here.
Yeah.
So you're like, yeah, your face. Yeah. So he tries to melt Mr. Punch's face. The wax from his face starts dripping onto his foot, onto David's foot.
Yeah.
Which hurts David.
Yeah, well, David's so stupid.
So that was David's fault. That wasn't really Mr. Punch's doing.
No.
But it hurts him. Every time he tries to hurt Mr. Punch, it backfires.
Yeah.
And you're like, yes.
It's like a cartoon.
Yeah. Something really funny happens here where, so Mr. Punch falls on the ground, and then they show him like do like a reverse, like flip into this chair, like to where he's sitting in the chair from the ground.
It is so impressive. It's like he's a gymnast.
Yeah.
Like he did a somersault, like a backward somersault.
Yeah.
And landed sitting in the chair.
Like I imagine they filmed it the other way and played it in reverse is what they did for that.
Right.
But it's so interesting to see that in the movie because David doesn't really react to it. Like maybe he's a little confused.
But he not to the point, like if I saw that, I'd be like,
I would start screaming.
Like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Right? Like I'd be like, what is happening here? You know? But he's so preoccupied with his own narrative.
Yes.
That he just doesn't even consider that maybe Judy could potentially be telling him something.
Right.
Something true.
So here we see Ralph and Judy finally find each other. And Ralph asked Judy, this is another part where I was like, this reaction doesn't fit what I would do in this situation. Ralph asked her, do you know something that I don't? And she alludes to yes. I think she goes, kind of, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Punch says, now he is speaking, I guess. His mouth doesn't move, but a voice comes out. And he says, deep down inside, you know. And Ralph is just kind of like he looks startled, but that reaction doesn't fit what I would do anyway.
I wonder if it's that thing of like, something is so outrageous that your brain can't process that it's real.
That's very possible.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's very
If a
possible.
doll said that to me, I would immediately think that something was wrong with me.
Yeah,
like I
that's
immediately
true.
would be very concerned for myself.
That's true.
Right? I don't know. Like,
or maybe like, oh, were you doing ventriloquism?
Yeah.
Because now you're trying to rationalize what just happened.
right.
Here, finally, we're getting to the scene. Okay, what I think is the scariest scene in the movie. Because now we cut to Rosemary. Rosemary's by herself in the room, okay? She's, just got out of the shower. I think she's wearing like a towel around her head. She always has something on her head.
She does, yeah.
And she finally gets hers
I love this scene.
in possibly the peak of the movie. It depends on your opinion, of course.
I think it is.
And this is the scene that I walked in on as a child. So she's in the room, a bunch of dolls on the mantle of the fireplace. And basically what happens is all of these dolls start jumping off the mantle onto her.
And they all have weapons. A lot of them have weapons. I don't know where they got them from.
They're little tiny weapons and they are her up.
Yeah,
And sharp.
They're sharp weapons, yeah.
There's a little saw.
Oh my god, one of them is sawing her foot off.
It's like a 2-person saw for that one.
Yeah,
They're stabbing her.
like lumberjacks.
Two little lumberjack dolls are sawing her foot off. There's another like handsaw they have on her arm. It's terrifying, and they're like ripping her apart, basically.
Yeah, they really are. It's a great scene. And the fact that they were able to do that with that many puppets is so impressive, because I feel like now they'd probably use CG for that. But the fact that it was all like animatronics and puppeteering and things, I just think it's so charming.
Yeah, I think you had written down that this was the most difficult scene for them to film. Because there's so many puppeteers, so many dolls.
Yeah.
And yeah, with no CGI.
Yeah, it's wild. Wild.
Because there are shots of her with like multiple dolls on her at the same time.
It's really neat.
Yeah.
I have a big smile on my face. I'm like, it's a great scene. She's just getting ripped apart. But it is satisfying, and it's exactly how she should go.
And what I have a take on that, but we'll get there in a second. So this is a scene that I walked in on. What I remember as a child is walking into the room and dolls are jumping off the mantle onto this woman, like stabbing her. And that's what happens here.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
That's very scary. That's a scary thing to walk in on when you're a kid.
I was definitely 7 or younger at that time.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Judy's age.
You know, I don't know. Maybe I wasn't scared because I was like Judy when I was a little kid. So I just thought that I would be fine. Because you know what I mean? Because I was always nice to my toys. So maybe that's, like,
I'm childlike.
Yeah. I don't know.
You're literally a child. I'm childlike. I have a childlike heart at 7 years old. So I feel like Rosemary didn't get hers the best way, only because she kind of took her own route at the end. So there's a moment, she's getting f***ed up by these dolls, and there's a moment where she goes, her face gets serious, like she's pissed, and it looks like she's about to take charge. This is very much Rosemary's personality throughout the whole movie, where she's like, I'm not taking no. I will give her that. Okay? She is a take no type of person.
She is.
She gets this look on her face, and I thought she was about to just start kicking these dolls across the floor, just like yeeting them across, okay? Instead, she jumps over them and through a window.
Yeah.
And out through the window, and that's how she dies.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Rosemary thought she was escaping the dolls by jumping over them and through the window. We don't know that for sure. It's never confirmed. But I just thought it was a weird choice. Because her whole personality this whole time is very aggressive and very controlling, and I just don't see her taking a coward's way out, you know what I mean? By like running away from them at all in any capacity.
Yeah, I don't know because
And a side note, not that I think that's even a cowardly thing to do, because that's what I would do, but
yeah, I have a couple thoughts on it. I wonder if she is looking at it as the easier way to go. Like, I don't know, I wouldn't want to be hacked up by a bunch of dolls. That
That's true.
sounds terrifying to me.
That's
But
true.
I also I don't think Rosemary is as big and tough and brave as she tries to be or appears to be. I mean, she's picking on a kid.
That's very,
you know,
that's
and then
very
she's
true.
being rude to elderly people. Like she doesn't seem all that tough and,
Yeah.
and much, and I do think she would be a survivalist. I do, but only by hiding and but behind people and
Okay.
using people as human shields and shit. Like
Yeah.
that's the kind of vibe I get from her. I don't know. Do I think she thinks she was going to survive the jump? Maybe she just wanted to roll the dice and see. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. When I see Rosemary, I see between fight or flight, I see fight. But I do agree with what you're saying, that I could see her being a survivalist by stepping on other people
Yeah.
to survive.
That's the way
Or,
I see it.
like
But
hiding, shielding, that type of thing. Yes, it could all be a facade. It probably is. She's probably projecting. We're like breaking down her psychology.
I know. She's terrible, though. Let's just make it clear. And
Yeah.
her jumping out the window, you know what? The world's a better place without Rosemary, straight up. So, I'm fine with the way she went. She's just so terrible.
Yeah.
But I do kind of wish the dolls would have hacked her to pieces.
Yeah, but I also like what happens with her body, at least next. So we'll get to that. In the meantime, Hillary is seen pushing a stroller through the hallway. So creepy.
It's really creepy.
Enid sees her because she's now searching for Isabel.
Yeah, Enid's looking for Isabel, and the scene where she's pushing the stroller, it's like a Rosemary's Baby, like black, old-timey stroller. And there's a doll in it. And we were saying last night, like maybe the doll really, like maybe she looks at the doll as if it's like a baby because it is alive.
Yeah,
So
I would say so.
So yeah, it is very strange, but it's less strange, I think, if you're Hillary and you consider the doll a human.
Yeah, these are now your little friends that you live with.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a creepy scene, and I think Enid sees it too.
Yeah, she sees there. It's like a reveal. We see
Yeah.
her pushing the stroller. She turns a corner, and then you see this really creepy doll that doesn't really look like the others. It almost looks like it has like a melted face in a way.
Yeah,
it was real
It was
creepy.
a little creepy, yeah.
So Enid finally makes her way up to the attic where we already know that Isabel is, or at least was, and she hears her calling out to Enid. She hears something, and we sort of see, once again, great shadows. It's finally revealed once Enid gets super close what Isabel looks like, and now we can see that most likely her face is now like morphing into this doll face. Very scary.
It's terrifying. It reminded me so much of Silent Night, Deadly Night 5. And I really want you to watch the movie.
I haven't seen it, yeah.
Because it's one of the most, like, disturbing movies I think I've ever seen. It's so bizarre. But the actual look of her as a doll, it's so creepy and it's so accurate. Like, that's exactly what I think a person would look like if they morphed into a doll.
Yeah. And she's trying to tell Enid, go back.
Which is the nicest thing that this chick has done the whole movie.
Probably her whole life.
And I also want to point out, as much as I don't like them, at least Enid, instead of just saying, I'm out of here, I'm getting out of this house, there's something messed up going on, she actually does go looking for Isabel.
Yeah.
So it's like she's not an absolute trash human. Like, at least she wants to find her friend.
Yeah, and I don't know that it would be the same way if it was the other way around.
I really don't know. But the fact that she says, like, go away, maybe in the afterlife she realizes, I don't want my friend. I don't want this for my friend, even though I was a terrible person in real life.
This is also one of the more, I guess, iconic images from the movie because it's also on the back of the VHS, probably the DVD too, I don't know. And it's where Isabel is holding up her eyeballs separately.
It's really cool.
Which they also have in Demonic Toys, a moment where someone has their eyeballs out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of similarities. But you had mentioned that they put it in the movie, right?
Yes.
To make sure that it matched
The
cover.
The cover. Yeah.
Because this was what they used to sell the movie, right?
I believe so. Yes. Yep. Which I think is really neat. And it's such a great cover, by the way. I love it. They walk, they talk, they kill. Straight to the point.
They walk, I talk, I even my pants.
Can you your pants?
That's what I thought you were about to say. And I'm like, wait a minute. There's so many similarities. It's so weird. But not weird because they're all, linked in some way.
Yeah.
So now the dolls attack Enid. Okay, and they're f***ing her up a little bit. However, the tables turn. And finally, Enid does what I thought Rosemary was going to do. And she starts fighting back. She takes off her boy toy belt. Very sign of the times.
And also I wrote in parentheses on my notes, another wrestling connection. It immediately made me think of HBK. I was like, oh, she's got a boy toy belt. She's a Shawn Michaels fan. Though I don't know if he was a boy toy yet. But anyway, I digress. Early 90s, right?
I'm like, maybe.
Early 90s,
It might have been early 90s, yeah. Okay. Anyway, you know what? Maybe he was inspired by this movie.
He saw Enid's belt and he went,
boy toy?
I think that's what I'll call myself.
I'm not your boy toy. Okay, so she starts whipping her belt around and she is these dolls up. And here it's revealed that the dolls have something underneath the doll face. There's something inside. Some of them look like they have like weird little shrunken heads or zombie faces. Some have skeletons.
Yes, which is due to Stuart Gordon wanted the dolls to have their own sort of skeletal system. So that's why they have that, which I think is such an added touch because it really does make them more human-like.
Yes, and now you're seeing, they really are alive. It's not just some soul in this doll. They're like a little human almost. Like they're shrinking the whole human maybe.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think too. I do. Yeah. I think that
and encasing them in a doll body.
Shrinks them down into dolls, yeah.
And also they use cigarette smoke to make the smoke effect.
How cool. I think that's so creative.
So they imagine though, you have to be on set just inhaling all the cigarette smoke.
That's a lot.
It was also the late 80s, so everyone was doing that anyway.
And I think the smoke coming out, they're kind of close-up shots, right?
It seems like
so, yeah, so I don't know. Anyway, in any event, I think that is very creative.
Yeah. She cracked their heads open with her belt, and now smoke is coming out, and they're like, Mah! And then apparently that kills them.
Yeah.
They fry or something.
You do think for a minute that she might get away.
Yeah, because she goes downstairs, and then she's met with a lineup of toy soldiers. Also something that is in Demonic Toys was one toy soldier, but anyway.
Well, they're carrying, muskets.
Yeah.
Right?
I think so. I don't know.
Is that what it's called, a musket?
There are muskets. That is a thing. I'm not well-versed. I don't know if they're rifles. I don't know.
Oh, maybe it's a rifle.
I have no idea.
I don't know what the difference is, to be honest.
A musket, I feel like, has that wide opening. That's you gotta, put the
Is that, old? That's old-timey, though. Is it old-timey? That's what old soldiers would use, right?
People I don't think use muskets now, really. Maybe. I think you gotta pack it with the... I actually don't even know.
I have no idea.
I'm gonna stop telling you how to use them.
Stop. I'm just gonna stop talking about muskets. I have no idea. But they've little tiny rifle musket guns. That's what they have.
That covers it.
Yeah.
And she swings her belt around for way too long, and this is her downfall.
Way too long. Girl, we get it, okay? You're a badass. Just take him out.
One of the toy soldiers has a little drum, and they're playing... Was it a trumpet? I don't know. I don't know if there's a trumpet here. We're not going to get back in... We're not going to get... No, that's the trombone. Oh. We're not going to get back into the horns, okay? The brass instruments. We're not doing it.
We're not well-versed.
But... they're playing a little song, the one is directing them. It's like, dur, 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 and then they're doing their whole process that they do while she's swinging her belt, and then she stops and she's like, what? I'm like, girl, keep swinging your belt. For some reason, I really wanted her to escape. I wanted her to I just wanted someone to get out, I guess, or
yeah, and well, she does have, it's kind of redemption arc a little bit because she did go looking for her friend and blah, blah, blah. I do think there's a part of her that's they have tiny guns. That, if I saw that, that would take me aback too. Oh my God.
But you've already been attacked by dolls at this point, so
True.
I feel like you already started fighting back, so wouldn't you just continue fighting? I don't know.
Enid's not the brightest, okay?
Either way, this was her downfall, and they shoot her with real bullets.
And it's actually pretty scary watching that.
Yeah, show it.
I felt bad for her. I did.
I did too. That's what I'm saying. For some reason, even though she wasn't the best character, she wasn't a great person. And you kind of are everyone besides Ralph and Judy are kind of go ahead, dolls, get them.
Yeah.
I did feel bad for her here.
Mm-hmm.
They show it from behind where they have whatever props they do in the back where it explodes.
It was
when
cool.
She gets shot. It was really cool looking.
Yeah, good effects.
But yeah, you feel bad for her.
Yeah. So there you go. She's out.
She's taken out.
Yeah.
So now we go back to the bedroom where there's a body in the bed that David thinks is Rosemary.
Okay, wait. Can we rewind for 1 second?
Yeah.
Did we skip over the scene where Gabriel takes Ralph and Judy into his toy making area? Remember, he takes them in and shows Judy and Ralph all of his toys.
In the very beginning?
Because he's a toy maker. And I do think it's important.
Yeah.
Because that's where you get to know Ralph a little bit.
Yeah.
So I apologize for the rewind, but I do feel like it's an important point.
Yeah.
Ralph is talking to Gabriel, and and when he walks into the toy making area,
that big room with all the dolls in the beginning.
the big room with all the dolls, you see the light in his eyes. Like, you see him sort of turn into this, like, his inner child wakes up.
Yes.
And he looks at everything, and Gabriel notices, I think, that Ralph is sort of enamored by all these toys.
Yeah.
And he tells a story that when he was a little kid, he believed that the dolls would come alive. So he told his dad, and I think his dad told him to, like, leave out snacks for them or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that's what he did. He would leave snacks out. And it was all just very cute, but he mentions, you know, he's talking about his dad, and Gabriel says, it sounds like you have a great father.
Yeah.
And Ralph says, you know, he sadly passed away when I was 9. And I thought that was really interesting, because I do think, you know, when you lose a parent when you're really young, your childhood, you sort of grow up really fast, and you don't have the, you understand that the world is not great at that point, right? When that happens, I think. And I think your childhood gets stolen.
Yeah.
So I really connected with him in that moment. I was like, oh my God, he's reliving his childhood.
Yeah.
And I feel that way when I buy my toys.
Yeah.
It really does make my inner child so happy. So I just thought that whole scene was really important, because I think the dolls are also sort of witnessing Ralph.
Yes.
You know.
That is important.
And Gabriel too.
Yep.
So I'm sorry to interject that.
No, that's very, very important. We kind of breezed past the doll room.
Yeah.
And me talking about how I was terrified. But yes.
Yeah.
That's very important, because they do a great job. That's such a sweet story. And they do a great job establishing that Ralph is a child at heart.
Yes.
It's very important.
That he even though he is an adult, he hasn't lost that inner spirit, that inner child yet. It's still in there.
Yeah, and he very clearly, like I know I mentioned earlier, he is still an adult. He has been desensitized a little bit. He is still skeptical. He still uses logic, but he definitely is a child at heart.
More open-minded.
Yes.
Okay.
So now we see Rosemary, or who we think is Rosemary at least, under a sheet in the bed.
This scene is amazing.
I love this scene.
This scene reminded me of Reanimator. I don't know. It kind of just had a Reanimator vibe to me.
So David
it was wacky.
Yeah,
it was a little bit wacky.
Yeah. David comes into the room, and he clearly wants to get freaky with Rosemary.
Yeah.
And he's like, whatever flirtatious thing he's saying, you're just like, ew. But he doesn't say it yet. It's in the next scene. Before he gets too close, he notices a bad smell.
Oh,
and
it's
he
so funny.
Checks himself.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'm going to go shower first. Okay. So he leaves the room. Then when he comes back later, I think, you know, they're cutting to different people at this point, but we'll just go with this whole scene. So when he comes back after the shower, he gets in bed. This is really creepy.
It's so gross.
Because he's like trying to, you know, butter her up a little bit. She's facing away from him. So she probably does that all the time. He just thinks she's being very cold to him and ignoring him. Your face.
It's so gross.
The look on your face.
Ew, he's so gross.
I wrote down a quote.
Oh, okay.
So we see from
I know what you're going to say. It's so disgusting.
He gets in bed behind her. She's facing away. And he says, will mommy kiss daddy and make it all better? I just physically cringed saying that.
Okay.
He says more than that, but that's all I'm saying.
Honestly, like, if someone said that to me, I mean, I think you said this in the Blood Diner episode, like, my vagina would sew itself shut. Like, for real.
Just
like that mommy daddy. I'm like,
no.
It made me gag.
Look.
Because he's also so disgusting. Listen.
To each their own.
To each their own.
No kink shame.
No kink shame, 100%. However, this specific instance with this creepy ass guy who's just such a piece of the irony of him calling her mommy and himself daddy when he is such an absolute trash father and a trash human being.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
So we can see from our POV that there's more and more blood that keeps appearing on the sheet. I love that.
Me too.
So the first time before he takes a shower, there's none. And then it slowly starts seeping.
Yeah.
And then when they cut back and he gets in the bed with her, there's so much blood, but he doesn't see it because she's facing the other way.
And all he's thinking about is at this point.
Yes. I love that part. It's such a subtle thing that because you see it unfolding and they don't know. And so he, of course, there's a reveal. He takes the sheet off. She turns, another part that I closed my eyes when I was watching during the sleepover. Like one of her eyes is hanging out.
It's
and
cool.
I love this part. It's so funny to me. He's freaking out. And she, like, her arm kind of drapes over him. He's trying to get her off and she's like getting drug out of bed onto him.
Yeah.
Like he can't get her off of him and she's just like clinging to him. I don't know why I thought that was so funny.
No, I think that is such a great 80s kind of gag.
Yeah.
It really is like, it's like, that's my favorite kind of horror humor.
Yeah.
Is that kind of, it was great.
And so, like Enid, David is immediately like, Ralph did this.
What? Have a little self-reflection, you know?
Or like, I don't know, maybe the other people in the house could have done it.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's just the fact that he constantly goes after Ralph.
Yeah.
I'm just like, dude.
Yeah. I guess he's thinking, oh, the girls couldn't have done this, or, oh, the older people couldn't have done this.
No, that's true. And honestly, like, I'm looking at it through, obviously, the viewer's perspective, because I know that Ralph is a gem.
Yeah.
And that David is a piece of so it's hard to, like, not be like, why,
Yeah, yeah. And so Judy and Ralph are together in a storage room full of dolls at this point. This is where she reveals that they're little people. Okay? And, she thought they were elves, little people, and that they're alive. And then they start moving a little bit. And Ralph, I know this scene was so funny to watch with you because we both had different reactions.
We did, yeah.
Or responses to Ralph is a response to Ralph's reaction, because I think he says, they're alive, aren't they? And she's like, and that's when they all start just moving their heads, all of them.
They do, like, literally every single doll in that room, and there's hundreds of dolls.
Hundreds.
It's packed. The room is, just picture it, shelves and shelves of dolls that are all uniquely individual, like they're all themselves.
Yes.
It's very, like you're saying, it's not like they just bought a whole bunch of dolls that look the same.
Yes.
I thought that was really cool.
I love that. And so they all start moving a little bit, and Ralph, being a logical adult, in my opinion, freaks the out and starts kicking them. And you were like, go ahead.
I was horrified.
You were like, why is he kicking them?
Yeah, I was like, why is he hurting the dolls? I was so upset. I was like, stop it, Ralph, don't hurt them.
And I think I was like, no, that's a logical reaction.
Yeah.
At least a knee-jerk reaction.
Sure.
Because he, like I mentioned earlier, he is still like skeptical and he's been a little, desensitized to his childlike state. He is a child at heart, but still, you're seeing dolls move. That's scary.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that makes sense to me. But
I just felt bad for them. I guess, I don't know. I guess I have a soft spot for dolls and puppets.
no, it makes sense. It makes sense why you're like, no, Ralph, you're a good guy. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't hurt them because they're gonna save you. Like they're gonna have your back if you don't with them.
Yes. But he doesn't know that.
He doesn't.
So as a knee-jerk reaction, I get it. Mm-hmm. And then immediately she's like, no, stop. They're my friends. Dolls are like, oh, there's hundreds of us. We're gonna you up.
It's pretty, it is pretty great, man. They just start beating the tar out of him.
Yeah, there's no way. You're not about to start kicking us.
Yeah.
And they just attack him.
They do.
Now Judy's screaming like, no, don't do it. Stop it. He's my friend. And they do.
And they do. They listen to her.
Yeah.
Okay, this scene though is my favorite because you keep talking about one specific doll, and now I can't get the doll out of my head. When Judy's like, please don't, blah blah blah, and the dolls stop, and they all kind of look, and they're kind of looking around, and then this cowboy with these bulging eyeballs. He's very scary looking, but he almost seems sort of like the mayor.
Yeah.
Because him and a few other dolls sort of get together and they're
having a little powwow.
Yeah, they're having a discussion and trying to pros and cons whether or not they should let Ralph go.
Yeah, and Judy says like they're deciding what to do with us.
Yeah.
Or him. I don't know if it's just Ralph.
Yeah, because I don't think they won't hurt Judy. And so anyways, they're sort of all talking to each other, and then there's like a second. And it's kind of funny too because they look at him and then they go back to their conversation like real people do.
Yeah.
And they end up allowing him to go, and the cowboy sort of just opens up his arm to say like, welcome to the team.
Yeah, he
You're
gestures.
one of us. Yeah.
He gestures and the door opens magically.
Yeah, because that was a thing. They got locked in the room. The dolls locked them in the room.
Yeah, and Judy said they're trying to decide if you're really an adult or just a kid in disguise.
Which is so... I just love it. I think it's so sweet. I'm like, I think of myself like Ralph, honestly. I do. When it comes to toys, I don't know anything else about Ralph, but...
Yeah. But the cowboy creeps me out so much, and he's one that stood out in my mind. Like, in that scene, even right now, I just watched it, like, last night.
Yeah.
I cannot picture any other doll in that scene except the cowboy.
I agree with that.
He has the creepy waterline bottom lashes.
His big eyes,
Yeah.
you know, very expressive.
Yeah. So, Judy's dad finally finds Ralph. David. I don't know why. I just hate him so much. I don't even want to say his name.
He doesn't deserve to have a real name.
Yeah. So he has decided Ralph has killed Rosemary, and now he's coming for him. A brawl ensues. He finally catches up with him. The dad shoves Judy at this point.
It's awful.
Yeah.
It's so horrible. He pushes her and she falls.
Yeah. And this is where Mr. Punch is like, oh, hell no.
Oh, Mr. Punch.
I know. Well, at first, Mr. Punch is whooping his ass.
Yeah.
Right? They're fighting.
Yeah.
He makes a mistake. Mr. Punch makes a mistake, and the heel capitalizes on it.
It does.
Okay? He has like this little power drill.
Yeah.
This was cool.
This was really cool. Didn't he throw a knife at him?
Oh, he was throwing knives. Yeah. That's what he first did. He threw his little knife, but the knife looked so big in David's arm.
so big. It's almost like it grew as it hit David.
Yeah. And so eventually he grabs a power drill, and David looks and he sees the cord for it right next to him. He grabs it. He whips Mr. Punch. He gets whipped across the room, which I was like, okay, that was pretty cool.
It was smart on David's part.
But-
Hate to say it, but
Hate to give him any credit, but this is where your
I
face.
hate it so much.
David smashes Mr. Punch's head with a sledgehammer.
No, but the noises that Mr. Punch is making, he's like, it's so sad.
Yeah.
I almost had a tear in my eye. I
Oh
was
my
like, no,
gosh.
please, not Mr. Punch.
In the meantime, the dolls drag Ralph away, so they save him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, because he gets knocked out. And they're like, don't worry, dude. We gotcha.
We got you.
Yeah, they pull him away.
Also, before he smashed Mr. Punch, David smashed a bunch of dolls. He was like smashing all the shelves with that sledgehammer. He was going wild.
I just hate him.
I really do.
Yeah.
As he's smashing Mr. Punch, he says like, you clowny, or something like that. As Gabriel and Hillary are walking down the stairs, like, why are you destroying our...
But the way that they do it is so calm.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like, oh, you seem to be upset. Like, they're just very... And because they know what's about to happen.
They know what's up.
Yeah.
They know that they're in control.
Yeah.
So at one point, David says something to Hillary about, like, you old witch. And she's like, oh, he figured it out.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
There's a reveal,
Yeah.
which we didn't know what the deal is. Are they have some kind of magic? Are they witches? We don't know. But she kind of confirms right there that she is a witch, or at least something like it. And Gabriel opens a pocket watch while has a monologue, just like lecturing David, basically. He opens like a pocket watch, I think, and it has a song that sounds very similar to the music box.
Yes.
So it's something that I never thought about before until we just rewatched, where I think I asked you, do you think the song is what starts changing them? Because he starts playing it. That's the only real indication of anything they do on their part to start transforming David. We don't see any of the other transformations happen.
Right.
We just see them after.
Except for, we see Isabel like half transformed.
Yes.
Just not fully transformed.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, we see her. We don't see the process.
Yeah, that's true.
But the song starts playing before she gets dragged away. I don't know. There's some type of connection there. He starts playing the song. David is about to like swing the sledgehammer, and then all of a sudden he is in pain. He's like, ugh, and starts transforming.
Morphing into the new
Mr. Punch.
Oh my god.
But-
and he's wearing like his silk nightgown.
The same outfit that he was wearing, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is another reference I made to dolls in a different episode that we did, which is My Demon Lover, because while he's transforming, the face that he makes looks a lot like the transformation of the demon.
Yeah, which is such a good point because I never thought that until you pointed it out. It does.
It was just really popular at the time, I guess. It was also in 1987.
And it was a very cool prosthetic.
Yeah.
Like
very
it was
cool.
a really cool scene, and you see him literally turn into the new Mr. Punch. With a nice new outfit.
Yeah, new outfits, but he has the same hat. Gabriel. I just like randomly said it in Spanish. Gabriel puts the old hat on Mr. Punch, so he's like makes a joke. They're like joking about it. They're like, I don't know, this might clash with his modern getup or whatever.
Yeah, it was actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, Gabriel, everything you say is so funny.
Zaddy.
Zaddy. That's how Hillary is. She's like, oh yes, Zaddy, you're so funny.
You have such a great sense of humor. Tell me more.
So
oh my God.
They cut to the next morning. Ralph and Judy are waking up. I love this because Ralph wakes up and he's like chill, and then he all of a sudden is like, the killer dolls. He like has a moment where he remembers.
Yeah.
And Judy's like, what happened? And Gabriel tells him this whole story, this made up story, which we wrote down.
No, the scene is wild. Okay, wait, hold on.
Yes, please set the scene.
Okay, so Ralph, it's the next morning. Judy's asleep on the couch. Ralph wakes up. He's like, remembering the whole gimmick. And then Gabriel is like, oh, he really downplays it and kind of, says, you had a nightmare. And
It's very comforting.
he really is comforting. And he walks over to Judy and he starts talking to Judy. And, she's asking where her dad and Gabriel are. Not Gabriel, I'm sorry. The dad and Rosemary.
Yes.
David and Rosemary. She's asking. And he says, wait, did he give her Mr. Punch yet?
Oh, I don't remember when exactly in relation to what he's about to tell
Okay,
her.
well,
So-
he says that... It's so hard to say this. He says that David and Rosemary left.
Oh, he doesn't show her Mr.
Mr. Punch yet.
No,
Okay.
no.
So he just is telling her like Rosemary and David left. They took off, and he says, but they left you a letter.
Yeah.
AK, would you do me the honors?
Oh my goodness. So we wrote down we like paused it and rewound it just to write down this exact letter because it's crazy. So the letter says, Dear Judy, forgive me. I never was a good father, I know. Correct. Rosemary and I are leaving you here with the hopes that you'll have a much better life living here with your mother and not us. We're moving to another country and changing our names. We are leaving you enough money for a plane ticket back to Boston. Love, your dad and Rosemary, or whatever he says. What?
That is absurd.
So Ralph, being the logical adult that he is, even says like, he says something like, well, that sounds a little wild or something along those
or
lines.
something. Yeah, like Ralph is skeptical.
Yes, and then he's also like, well, what about the Hitchhikers? And then Gabriel pulls the letter back out and he goes, oh yes, and P.S. I'm taking the 2 hitchhikers with me. And Ralph goes, let me see that, which is logical response. I love logical responses in movies.
Yeah.
He goes, let me see that, and Gabriel just tosses it into the fire.
Into the fire. Like, you don't need to see it.
I loved that.
It's so funny. And then Judy's like, well, I don't want to go alone. And then Gabriel he offers her Mr. Punch, but he also tells her that there's enough money for Ralph to get a ticket to go to Boston with Judy.
Yes. We still don't know if they're in another country or not. I'm just assuming they are.
They
in
seem
another
like
country.
it. They seem like it. Yeah.
Yeah. In the plot anyway.
Yeah.
So, yes, he says that they can come back to visit whenever they like.
Yes.
She chooses to leave Mr. Punch there, I think.
She does. It's the sweetest thing, though. She says, like, Gabriel, I think you should have Mr. Punch and I'll see him next summer or something. Isn't it so sweet?
I think that's Teddy that she does that with.
But she also gives back Mr. Punch.
I think so.
It's
Either way,
similar vein,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
You're right. I think she does the same thing with Teddy.
Because Judy says to Mr. Punch, see you next summer.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Punch says, which is her dad, so long, short stuff, like in his voice, in David's voice.
Yeah.
And that's where Ralph is like, oh, we got to get out of here.
It's time to leave.
Yeah.
It's time to leave. And they like book it outside to a vehicle that I can only describe as a car from the 1920s.
Yeah, I'm not well versed in cars. I don't know the exact.
Maybe the 1930s,
but
it is like a convertible.
It seems like such a random. Where did you get this? Like, what made you use this car?
I don't know, but the doors, as they're driving away, the doors are like flying open. Like, this is clearly a beat up car.
And I think also he was just so scared and like in a rush. It was showing like the urgency that he was getting out.
Yeah.
Because Ralph, even though we've established he's a child at heart, He is freaked out.
He's scared.
And I like that. I like that he's not just like, everything's hunky-dory. He's like, no, I'm freaked out. We got to get out of here.
Yeah. Because then Gabriel and Hillary are like, well, you don't have to leave. You could stay with us. Like, and it's the one time that I think they actually look scary towards Ralph and Judy.
Because there's a moment where you're like, are they going to not let them leave? But they do.
But they do. They do.
They are definitely like, stay with us. Like that
we'll
type of
turn
vibes.
you into dolls, whatever.
Even though I don't think they would.
I don't think so either.
But when he opens the door of the car, when Ralph does, Teddy is in the car. So Teddy has been rescued from the woods. When Rosemary threw him earlier, he's in the car, jump scare for Ralph.
Yeah.
And that's where Judy is like, you know what? I'm going to leave him with all the toys. And she goes and gives him to Gabriel and was like, I want him to stay here. And it was very sweet. And I wrote, what's up with Ralph's car?
Yeah.
That's one of my notes I wrote.
Right?
And she wants Teddy to live with the rest of the dolls. Very wholesome. And when they're leaving, there's also a line that Gabriel says earlier in the movie, and Judy says, because Ralph's like, why is Teddy in my car or whatever? And she goes, because toys are loyal, and that's a fact.
It's so cute. It's very so cute. Yeah.
The ending was very sweet. Judy and Ralph are driving away, and Judy's clearly trying to hook up Ralph with her mom. She's like, are you single?
It's such a little kid. Yeah. Like, it's such a little kid, like, happily ever after, like, cute moment.
It's very, very cute. Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, I guess the ending isn't completely sweet because it truly ends when the credits start rolling. They show another car get stuck in front of their house. It's from far away, but you see basically the same thing happening that happened in the beginning of the movie to a new family.
Right.
Who's now getting out of the car, seeing what's wrong. They're stuck. The credits start rolling. And you're like, oh, this is going to happen again.
And before this happens, no, it's okay. There's a shot of Enid, Isabel, Rosemary, and now Mr. Punch. And it's all of them as dolls. Yes. They've shrunken down, and they are really cool looking. I wonder if somebody has them. If someone bought the props, because they're really cool.
I'd be so scared.
I want the puppet props so bad. I would do anything for like I have replicas. I have the to scale replicas, but I want the actual props from the movies. And I wish they'd come to life. Oh my god. Anyway,
we are two different people.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, the dolls look really, really cool. They all look like how they looked, except for David, who now looks like Mr. Punch. But they all look like themselves in the movie, like what they were wearing when they got killed and everything.
It's neat. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very creepy faces.
Yeah.
And I know you told me, I didn't know this, but that they were interested in making a sequel.
Yeah, Stuart Gordon wanted to make a sequel, but I guess it just never came in. It never came to light, but I think the concept of it was that Ralph and Judy were in Boston, and then someone mails her Rosemary and David as dolls.
Okay.
And I think that was like kind of the concept for it, but it never came to be.
I wish they would have.
I do, but I will say, like, I think that Dolls really inspired Puppet Master.
And a lot of other movies for sure.
And
sometimes sequels aren't good. So
I'm with you.
Maybe it like enhances the lore, the fact that there's only one. You don't get more than that. But of course, because I love Dolls so much, I'm like, I want to see what the sequel would have been.
I do too. And I want to see more Hillary and Gabriel.
More Gabriel for sure.
I would love to have like a prequel.
A prequel?
Right? To like see how all of those dolls sort of morphed in and where they all came from.
Yeah.
And what Gabriel and her were like as like youngins.
Yes, you had a really cool fact written down about how many dolls that were allegedly killed, or how many people were allegedly killed by either the dolls or Gabriel and Hillary because of how many dolls they used. Like, you actually have the number.
Okay, according to fandom.com is where I got this stat from. There were 214 people murdered before the film by either Gabriel, Hillary, or the dolls, and were then reanimated as dolls.
I love that.
It's very specific. Yeah.
I love that fact.
Yeah.
And that's how many dolls it felt like were in that room. So
a lot.
It makes sense.
Yeah, there were a lot. It was Dolls is always going to hold a special place in my heart. I truly love the movie. I think anyone that enjoys Chucky or, any kind of movie, Annabelle, go back and watch Dolls, because I don't know if there would be an Annabelle, right, without Dolls. I don't know. I think Chucky came out in 82, I want to say, or 80. It came out early. right?
Yeah.
I think so. But anyways, if you like Child's Play or, Puppet Master, things like that, definitely check out Dolls. It's really fun.
Yes. And one of our favorites. Highly, highly recommended.
I just loved it. And I'm so glad that we got to share our love for dolls with everybody.
Yes, we were so excited to do this episode. It is a little bit longer of an episode than we've done so far.
Well, we got really into it.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to know if people like these longer episodes or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I've got a couple of reminders for you guys.
Yes.
If you aren't already, you can follow us on Twitter. No, not Twitter. Redact that. Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Chainsaw Girls Pod. If you haven't already, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. It really helps our podcast grow.
Yes.
And if you have any suggestions, movies you want us to cover, themes, comments, anything like that, you can shoot us an email. It's chainsawgirlspod@gmail.com. Okay, bye.